Here we go. Hi guys, welcome back to Cupcakes and Protein Shakes. I am your host, Savannah. We're doing another episode where we sit down with a fellow bikini competitor and interview her and just let her share her story. So welcome to the show. Introduce your name and tell me where you are from.
My name's Carissa and I'm from Arizona.
Okay. Is that where you're at currently?
No, I actually said that and I was like, wait, did she mean originally or does she mean right now?
Wherever, yeah.
So originally I'm from Arizona. However, I live in Colorado Springs.
Okay. Super cool. So I'm excited to chat with you. So before we jump into where your bodybuilding journey started. So let's talk about how you got introduced into what you're doing now with angels and everything too. So like how we met. So we met through, I literally think through the fashion show was the first time that we met in person.
Yeah, that was the first time we met in person. Yeah, at the Arnold.
Yeah. The Arnold was really, really fun. And you got to step on stage and do some more fun posing. And I know we had talked about doing like WBFF and everything, but when did you like make that decision?
For WBFF.
Yeah.
Let's see, it was probably about 3 weeks ago. I've always been interested in competing in WBFF just because like I love the glam life.
Yeah.
I know that WBFF is a little more glamorous. And so I kind of pitched the idea to my coach, like just kind of threw it out there as a joke. And she was like, no, I really think you should do it. And she was so supportive. And then, right then and there, we started looking at like show dates. And then I know Tanya from Angels as well. She's going to be doing it. And I was like, oh my gosh, that would be such a blast. And then at that point, my coach was just like, okay, let's find out the details. And then I reached out to you. And, it was just like, it was so smooth. It just happened so smooth and organically. And yeah, and so now we're 14 weeks out and I am so thrilled.
I'm so excited. Okay, so we're gonna come back to this, but we'll get there. We have to like go back to the beginning. So
Yes,
that's
yes.
where you guys, this is where we end. And so now let's start this. Like go back to the beginning of the journey. Like what were you like before fitness? Like what did you do for fun? Like when did you get introduced to bodybuilding? Like what were your first initial thoughts and how did you find out about what bodybuilding was?
Oh goodness. Okay, so I want to say I've always been pretty like active. I've always enjoyed working out. There was a point in high school where I'd become like overweight. I was like partying, drinking. At that point in my life, I wasn't like working out. And then I started to pursue college and I was studying pre-med. So I started to develop more of an interest in like health and, the importance of taking care of your body. And then from there, I, started working out, realized how much I enjoyed it. And then graduated, I became a trainer after I graduated. And my biggest thing is I'd always wanted to compete, but I was always like, oh, I could never be that shredded on stage. That couldn't be me. Like I always doubted myself. And then once I became a trainer, I didn't necessarily like look like a trainer, and that's what I wanted. I wanted to look like a trainer. So at the time, I was living in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and I'll never forget it. I walked into my first coach's gym, his gym called Jay's Fit Factory. And I essentially told the lady working at the front desk, I was like, hey, like, I'm interested in competing. I'm a trainer and I want to look like a trainer. And so I'll never forget it. It was 2018. I competed for the first time, won my class, and instantly I was hooked. But there was a really special moment after I stepped off stage because someone came up to me and they're like, hey, what do you do? And I told them I'm a trainer, and they were like, "Oh, you look like a trainer." And it was right in front of that same employee who I mentioned that to, and so it was like a really special moment. So, yeah, the minute I or the from the first time I competed, I knew like I was hooked. Like I love competing. I love the lifestyle. I'm sure, yes, the diet can be a little restrictive at times, but even in off season, like I'm still working out, I'm still eating clean. I just might have a little more flexibility with my diet, but overall, like I love the lifestyle of bodybuilding and just being a competitor and fitness in general.
That is interesting to me. So you wanted to, as a trainer, kind of like, hey, like I don't look like I'm supposed to be. And that's kind of cool that you're actually a trainer that admitted it. Because I know that there's some, maybe not like fitness looking trainers that are decently like healthy and work out, but they might not have that look, the fitness
Yeah.
look. Where
Yeah.
you can tell, like you can see they have muscles and you can tell that they're relatively lean and fit. So
Yes.
it's it's interesting that that was like your look. So now, like, do you feel like it helps you with your business to like look a certain way and compete?
I think it's really, I think it's important because it holds me accountable, you know? So, number one, it holds me accountable. And also, like, I'm living the lifestyle. So, I'm practicing what I preach. So, it's one thing for me to sit there and be like, go do your cardio, be consistent with lifting, practice progressive overload, meal prep. And then I myself am not doing it, right? Like, so I think it really holds me accountable. And yeah, and that's what I always tell my clients. Like, I love fitness, and I love that competing has made me that much more accountable. And so, yes, I do think it's helped me with my business because, like I said, it forces me to practice what I preach. But also as a personal trainer, like I am a walking billboard for my business. So it keeps me looking fit, I guess. And that's obviously important when you're in this industry. No one wants to hire no one wants to hire a fluffy trainer.
Yep. It's true, but I mean, there's some pressures that come with that, like after being a certain physique and then like going back into at least a little bit of like a body fat gain. So between what 2018 to now, how many shows have you competed in?
Ooh, let's see. I believe this last show was my eighth show. So I did take a 2 year hiatus. And I think it was good. I pursued boxing for a short while. I thought I wanted to get in the ring and compete. And maybe one day I will. I think my biggest concern was I just didn't want to break my nose.
Yeah.
So, yes, yeah, but I am a huge advocate for women learning self-defense. And so that was a huge motivator for me to learn how to box and to also teach boxing because I wanted to empower women and at least teach them how to properly throw a punch. And then also, it's great cardio. So if I had clients that were interested in weaning out, it was nice to be able to offer that to them because it's like a fun type of cardio. Like I've never sweat more than, when I'm boxing. So
Wow, I wouldn't take you for boxing. I imagine not you as a boxer. Like everything opposite, like some angry person that just needs to go like hit the bag.
yes, yes. I wouldn't say it's definitely a fun workout. I can get aggressive with the heavy bag, but yeah, for the most part, I'm pretty positive. I'm in good spirits.
I like
Sunshine,
this. Okay,
yeah.
so 8 shows under belts. What was placings like? How was first show? What was favorite show? Let's go through it all.
Okay. Let's see. First show I competed, placed first in my class. I think this was interesting to me. So I placed first in my class and then I placed third in novice. So, but it was interesting because I think the girl that won second in novice, so she placed higher than me by one. I ended up beating her in my class. So it was interesting. But so to answer your question, first show I won my class, didn't win novice. And then second show I won third. Um, goodness, yeah, I thought I looked incredible that show. But yeah, it always better than I do. Like it depends on who shows up, you just never know. And then third show, oh my goodness. Third show was my national show. So I was yes. So I was nationally qualified.
Show?
Yeah.
It's a good
Sure.
idea at the time.
Huh?
Good
What?
idea at the time. And
Yes,
practice, how
yes.
was it once you actually made it to nationals, only 2 shows in?
Oh man. So I remember like, so my first show I qualified for nationals and I was like, all right, I'm ready for nationals. I didn't know what I was getting into. I got to the national stage and those girls were big. They were really, really big. And I've put on some size since then, but man, I just remember yeah, that was an experience, very humbling, very humbling. And then so I went back home and I think I took 2 weeks off and I started prepping for my fourth show. Didn't do well at my fourth show. I placed third at my fourth show. This show stands out to me in particular because my top broke on stage. So luckily I was able to catch it, but yeah, there's more to that. Hold on, there's more to that. So it was not angels, was
Okay,
not
I was
angels.
like, oh,
Yes.
okay, what brand? I'm like,
Listen, we won't go there. We won't go
okay,
there.
okay.
But it was not angels.
Okay.
And yeah, so I took maybe about 6 months off, 8 months off. And then at this point it was 2020. So like COVID was happening. And I remember I was prepping for a show and the show kept getting pushed back because the venues were getting shut down. The shows kept getting pushed back. So I remember originally it was supposed to be like a 16-week prep, and then I think we had to like find a new venue, and I want to say it was about a 20-week prep before I actually stepped on stage. Loved that look. I remember placing first in at that show, and then I wanted to go and compete at nationals again. However, my husband was PCS, so we moved away from Fayetteville. And then at that point, I just decided to take a little bit of a breather from bodybuilding. I wanted a break. And so that's when I started to pursue boxing, moved to Colorado, and then I found my coach now. And yeah, I knew when I moved to Colorado, I wanted to get back into bodybuilding because I was new here and I just love the bodybuilding community. So I was looking for friends, and I knew I wanted to find friends that had similar passions as me. So I joined a gym and I was like, I'm going to join another bodybuilding team because I know I'll find like girly girls that also love to, lift weights. And sure enough, I did. I found my coach. I found my gym family at Lions Lair Pro Gym. And anyway, so I did Colorado Cup back in 2021. And it was interesting because I did a crossover at this show. So I did wellness and I did bikini because I was kind of
Why did
what
you
I
do
like.
this?
Well, listen. I did this because I was like, I'm kind of in between, maybe like well kini. So my coach was like, well, let's put you in both divisions and then see, where the judges like you better. So I actually placed higher in wellness. And so yes, I placed higher in wellness. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go the wellness route. So then I competed at the Peach Classic back in 2023 at Sid's Peach Classic in Georgia, and I placed third there in wellness. And honestly, I was pretty shocked. I was pretty shocked. A lot of great talent that showed up. And then I knew though before hitting a national stage for wellness, it was going to take way too long because my legs just aren't, my leg development isn't there. And so um, I decided to go back to bikini. And then this past April, I competed at the Triple Dynasty. And then I also placed third there. So yeah, so I do plan on competing at the Triple Dynasty in 2025 for bikini. But I'm also competing at WBFF in August. So we'll see. We'll see. I am hoping to get my pro card at Worlds in August. So if that works out, my plans might change. So
Yes, that is the goal. I think you have a really good chance at turning pro. And they do have wellness too. if you didn't know.
Okay, I didn't know that. I did not know that. Yeah.
So you could cross and do multiple if you wanted to do wellness, but yeah, like
Yeah.
it's a different aesthetic. It is kind of the Welkini-ish where it's like quads and legs and not as much upper body really. Like it's
Mhm.
kind of toned down, but for the pro level, like they don't want the muscle to go too extreme, which
Yeah.
yeah, I think you're gonna do really well. I'm really excited for this. It's gonna be so much fun. So it's all three of us are gonna be at World, so I'll be there cheering you guys on. And you know, if the cards align, hopefully we'll get a first,
Yes.
hopefully. But even if they do align and you're anywhere between first, second, or third, there might be a chance for a pro card too. So
Fingers
you'll see,
crossed.
we'll see how
Yeah.
that happens. And that's it's a good thing to bring up too, because it's a different division, a different organization too, but you're going into it without a pro card. So you're not necessarily giving up and you have that kind of double plans. So, you know,
Mhm.
let's say you try for a pro card, don't get it, like you can still compete as an amateur with really anywhere. But then once you do attain that pro card, then you kind of have to stay, or if you decide to go compete on a different stage, you do have to forfeit it wherever that is. That's kind of
Yeah.
like it's a positive. In most organizations, it's that way, except for OCB. I think it's the only one where you can compete differently,
Mhm.
as with different pro cards. But it's different body types. It's fun. I'll definitely be following like what your guys' journey is to the differences. Has anything been different about this prep now compared to other preps?
I think one one benefit is coming straight out of my triple dynasty prep. So it's almost like kind of reversing into this prep. So it's been nice. And then also I because like the demands aren't to be as like lean, I feel like this prep has just in general been a little more relaxed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of
Mhm.
nice. You're like, is this
Yeah.
how real people feel? It's like this is so
Yeah.
nice. So like
Yeah.
I'm not struggling, I'm not depleted, I'm not super hungry, and the
Mhm.
glam side. So why do you like the glam side? Or like what is the draw for you there? Like what excites you about it?
I love the dramatic like hair, the makeup, the posing. Like I have always wanted to do like a twirl on stage with NPC. I'll never forget. I think I did it with Sandy one time. Like I was like, "Can I just do like a spin walking out?" She goes, "No." Like so when I found out that we're able to do like spins and twirls and they're encouraged with WBFF, I was just like, "Oh my gosh, this is so my jam, so my jam." So I competed for Miss Arizona back in like 2013, 2014. And so I have a little bit of experience with like the pageant. So I was like, this is great. Like, you have the glam of the pageant, but at the same time, you still have like the fitness aspect of it. And so yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I feel like it's the best of both worlds.
Yes. And I've never been into any pageants, but I liked the fashiony side where it's like, oh, you can be creative with the suit or the gown or the outfit, where it's like, and the poses. I'm like, what do you mean there's no standard front
Yeah.
pose? What do you mean that I can transition which way I want and put my glutes in a position? Like, so there is so much freedom when it's suits, gowns, outfits. And when you're stage lean, like I feel like um you look amazing, but it's like a whole weekend experience. You're not just getting show day out of it, you're getting like 3 days. So at Worlds, you're getting, okay, we need an outfit for your registration. So like registering for the show is an event. And it just makes it feel special rather than just like grabbing a button in your sweatpants and leaving. It's like, no, it's like welcoming you and you get your pictures and your content, all the things, and you get to meet people. I really like that there was 2 days of like meet and greets leading into it. So that way, like when you're backstage, you're not meeting these girls for the first time. And a lot of times, if you are competing against someone backstage the first time that you meet them, they're not ready to make friends with you at that point. Like
Right.
it's game face, like we're
Yeah.
competitors backstage. But when there had been different events where it's a really, smaller, it's intimate, where you're getting to meet, where it's outside of or backstage. So there's not that pressure of, okay, we're going head to head. And then you can like, you kind of go through that experience together and you start to know them. And it's like everyone gets excited because, oh, you're in the bikini or you're in the wellness or you're in a different class. So there's lots of different classes and things going on, and the pros and the amateurs. And it's so fun. And like Worlds in Miami, it's the biggest stage that you can do. It's kind of like the Olympia amateur, but it's the amateur Worlds. And you'll still get to like do all of the things and the dresses, which is like, it's fun enough to like pick out your suit. But then when you get to pick out like your neckline of your suit and like the beads and the feathers and the trims and the color and multicolors, or do you want to do a glove or a head thing or whatever, like it really makes it truly like personalized and custom like to like your personality. So I'm excited to see whatever that looks like for you after the show. And so I'm fingers crossed that we'll get that pro card, and we'll see everything for the week. And that's what, 14 weeks, 13 weeks?
14, I believe. 14? Yeah. Yeah.
14
So
weeks.
14 weeks, but I usually don't count peak week because you should be ready by then. So 13 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay,
Mhm.
so with your journey looking back, let's go through mistakes. Like, what were some of those notable mistakes that you're like, I wish someone would have told me these things before I did it?
Yes. Goodness. Practicing posing more. Like I can't stress how important posing is. So I think when I first started competing, I was posing maybe like once a month leading up to the show. Like I would probably practice like 3 or 4 times a week, but it truly is like an art. And then also once those nerves hit on stage day, like you just don't know how you're going to respond. Like I've posed so many times, and it never fails. The minute you get on stage, those nerves hit, those bright lights, you just it's hard to prepare for. So you really want to like practice posing so it becomes muscle memory, so that if you do black out on stage, you know what to do. You know how to move through the motions. So
Yeah,
that's
I
yeah.
like, it's the posing is underestimated. Like I even as like a seasoned athlete, you get a little lazy in your habits because you're like, oh, I've competed several times. Like I don't need to practice as much. It's like, no. Yes, you do. You're not special. Like you're going to go into those bad habits so quick without the muscle memory. Like you got to put in the reps for posing just to hit exactly how you want to hit. That way, like when you are nervous, hopefully your body just goes into what you've practiced.
Yeah, it's so true. So true. So posing is definitely one. I would say making sure that you properly reverse is huge. That is like a huge one. So luckily, my coach now, she gives us a detailed like reverse plan. We check in with her every week after. I think that accountability is huge. So if I was to give advice to any like new competitors, it would be, hey, make sure that you're with a coach that like ensures that you're properly reversing, because it's easy. This sounds so crazy, but it's almost easier when you're in prep because you have like a show date in mind, like you have something that you're preparing for, whereas after you compete, like you literally can have nothing stopping you from going balls to the wall and having whatever you want. So I think it is still nice to make sure that you have that accountability and that you do have that structure in place, just so that you're not putting a lot of stress on your body, as far as just eating a bunch of stuff that you probably shouldn't.
Yeah, it's because you're going through all these amazing habits and they don't just abruptly stop. It's like you're
Yes.
going 100 miles an hour and you can't just literally stop the brakes. Like
Hmm.
that's not how it works. You can't just go back to what
Yeah.
you were doing before you started prep. Like your metabolism is in a different place. Like your body, like you're prone to weight gain so fast. Like it is
Mhm.
already so easy to gain weight. It's easy to eat food. It's harder to burn it off. But then
Mhm.
after a show, when you've been dieting and you're hypersensitive to those calories, plus the show's done. So, you don't have that willpower anymore. It's important that you have some type of structure, some type of plan. Otherwise, you will go back to what you were and like revert very quickly. And I've done it
Mhm.
several times. I'm like, oh, I'm lean. It doesn't happen to me. It happens every time, every time.
Mhm. It's so true. And it happens quick. Like you were saying, when we're, dieting, so being so restrictive with our food intake, and we're doing, a lot of conditioning, and your metabolism starts to slow down. So it's even more important that when we go to, reverse, that we are fueling the body with like nutrient dense foods, because our my coach always says our bodies are like a sponge, so it's going to uptake everything that you eat. So you want to really provide your body with like, nutrient dense foods so that you can maximize that growth period.
Mhm.
um so yeah, I can't stress that enough. I can't stress
Mhm.
that enough.
Yeah, and it's fine to have some fun things as you reverse, but then just make sure you get back onto your diet. What
Yes.
else can you think of that was like some
Mhm.
notable mistakes? Anything at all?
I'm trying to think. Those are the two that really stand out to me. I can't really think of any other mistakes per se. Ooh, I can't think of one. Prioritizing sleep. I can't, that's another big one. So I think that there was one prep that I did. I think it was my fourth prep. I was working as a trainer. So in order to get my like fasted cardio in, I was waking up at like 3 a.m., doing my fasted cardio at the gym, training clients by 6. And then I was also coaching like boot camp classes toward the evening. So I wouldn't get home till like 8 or 9 p.m. And then at that point, like it was just like a vicious cycle. I would, finally get to bed, wake up at 3, do my cardio. And I feel like it just like put a lot of stress on my body. And I always tell my athletes now, like, listen, when we don't prioritize sleep, it can really affect your hormones. So like your leptin, your ghrelin, you're going to have a hard time feeling like satiated. A lot of times you're probably going to have stronger cravings. And then also because the lack of sleep, it's going to stress your body out. So cortisol is going to be elevated. So, I don't think people put enough emphasis on the quality of their sleep and how important it is.
I agree so much. And I think I did that too for so long. I was in the 5 a.m. club and it was like I had to wake up at 5 a.m. or I just told myself it was 5 a.m., 5 a.m., 5 a.m. And it didn't even matter like what time I would go to bed. It was just 5 a.m., get up, do an hour of cardio, 2 hours of cardio before work. And it get to the point where it was I didn't need to do it. It just was good to get it out of the way. It wasn't 3 a.m. It was not 3 a.m. But
That was
after
crazy. Yeah.
yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I know we have to do what we got to do, but
Mhm.
after I stopped prep, I started sleeping and I just switched my cardio to when it after work and it
Yeah.
made sense. And I still went to bed at a decent time. My cycle came back in like 3 weeks after doing that. And I had
Mhm.
never switched my sleep for like 2 or 3 years. And the first time that I switched my sleep, it came back like almost instantly. And I think that
Wow.
was the only thing that changed was just less stress, like time to actually rest, actually recover. And it is, I know if I don't sleep, my weight's not going to go where I want it. It's harder to drop body fat. Just like you're saying, it's just harder to do everything.
Hmm. Amen. I can't agree with you more. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And okay, so looking back at prepping, like what advice do you have? Like when you're looking for someone to coach you, when you're looking for like shows to pick, like was there strategy behind what you were doing, or like what is some advice there?
I would say that I'm a big believer in having a coach. I feel like at this point, I probably could prep myself. However, I wouldn't want to. Like, I appreciate the accountability. And that's why I think, I mean, if you think about it, like even pro athletes, NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, like they all have coaches. And it's because everyone can benefit from having someone holding them accountable. So coaches have coaches. I have a coach and I'm a coach. So I do think that it's really important to have a coach so that you have someone checking in with you, making sure that you're staying committed to your goals, whether that be your training, your nutrition. Also, as I'm sure you can relate, as we get deep into prep, sometimes we can get so like tunnel vision on like what we should look like. We often like don't see our body progressing, right? So sometimes you need to have that coach like pull you out of it and be like, no, dude, like you're looking great, you're on the right track, like so you're in your head. I feel like you can get in your head a lot of times. So so number one for the accountability factor. Number two, a lot of people like, especially if it's your first time competing, you're gonna have so many questions like, what show should I do? Like, where do I get my suit from? How often should I be like posing? Like, how do I pose? So there's gonna be, it's really like it's a whole new world. So having that mentor aside you, making sure that you're doing everything on track and the way that you should, I think it's imperative in order for you to be successful. And it's just going to streamline your progress too. So like, I do think it's worth the investment, investing in a coach and investing in the right coach to ensure that you're going to be successful. Because if you're going to be investing all this time, money, and energy, you want it to like pay off. So yeah, I definitely think it's beneficial to have a coach.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, like you said, prep goggles are real. Like they
Mhm.
seriously are. You could have a shredded six pack and be like, I'm not lean enough. And it's like, actually,
Yes.
you're a little too lean. We're gonna have to feed you. Oops,
Mhm.
sorry. Or, like, and you look amazing oftentimes at the very end, and you probably have the worst body image because you're like, oh, it's not exactly perfect how I imagined I was supposed to look after an off season. I was supposed to have bigger glutes or shoulders, or you still see like places that you can make improvements rather than looking at yourself of like, oh my gosh, I've already looked so great here. Yes, obviously we can always improve, but just like kind of stepping back and like, no, this is pretty good. And that's what a coach is there for, just to take the goggles off, let the coach do the stressing. You just like follow the plan, whatever it is, like put your trust in that person and hopefully if followed correctly, like over time, like you will get to that end goal together.
Absolutely. And that's what I always tell my clients too. Like, we're working as a team. No one wants you to succeed more than I do as your coach, because when you win, I win. So, like, I think it's really important having that team dynamic when you are working with like a client. And, same thing with my coach, um, we put together a game plan and then I followed the plan. And to touch on that, you said something that reminded me, I think progress photos are huge. So that when we do start to like get in our heads and think, I'm not where I should be, or this area isn't like where it should be, I haven't progressed the way I wanted to, like it's so important to have those photos so that you can make those comparisons and be like, oh my gosh, you know what? I'm being so hard on myself. When I take a side by side and I look at where I've come from, I've come leaps and bounds. And so I think that those progress photos are huge as well.
Oh
Really
yeah.
huge.
And I
Yeah.
think taking them when you don't want to take them is even
Yeah.
better because
Yeah.
I remember several shows and it's just a week post show where I'm like, I don't want to take them. I know the scale is up and I looked amazing.
Mhm.
I was like, I wish I could look like a week out after a show. And
Yeah.
you just don't feel that same way. So I think it is like when you feel your worst or even on your first day of your fitness journey, that is the time to take them.
Yeah.
Not because of how you feel in that moment. It's because how you're going to feel 6 months and you have that starting progress. And then you have that end of 6 months, a year, 3 years. You're going to wish you had more of your beginning photos. Like I wish I had way more pictures from when I first started just to compare because I didn't want to take the pictures because I didn't
Yeah.
like how I looked at the beginning. But I'm like, oh, I look so good now. I wish I had those pictures of just to show people how far you come. So that's the time is now's the time to take those pictures. When you feel your worst, take the pictures. Like it just do them because it's good to have that data and you can have a friend, a coach look at them objectively and be like, hey, you're really in your head about whatever you think is going on. Like point A, like it is example. You look like this, you look like this. You see this little line, this little dent, this little
Mhm.
whatever. they can point like physically and show you the changes and the progress. And sometimes weight doesn't always go down every week. So those pictures are so valuable.
Yeah. And also like the scale is never going to tell you what your body composition is. So even though, maybe you didn't see like a dip in your weight, oh my gosh, you look so much tighter. Like your waist has come in, your hamstrings look fuller, your glutes look fuller, your hamstrings look tighter, whatever it is. So it's so, because even myself, like I feel like I can, tie too much value to the number on the scale, but I always tell my clients, and I have to remind myself as well, like the scale will never tell you like, your body composition. I think that's really important. There's other wins besides the scale. And that's why another reason why I think it's important to take those progress photos.
I love that so much. What else? Like, what is some best advice that you've got along the way, or like some favorite memories from competing?
Bodybuilding so much more. It is so much more than like just looking good or being in a sparkly bikini on stage. Like the discipline that you acquire through a prep, like number one, it's going to teach you a lot about yourself, how hard you can push yourself, and just that like mental grit that you have to develop like in the weight room. I've always said this, and this is one of the reasons why I love being a trainer is as we develop strength, like physical strength, I do think that there's like a mental and emotional aspect that comes with it. So when you start to develop that strength in the weight room, I feel like you start to develop like mental strength in other aspects of your life as well. So it's like, I didn't think I could press these like 35s for a shoulder press, and I did it. Not only did I do it, but I did it like 4 extra reps and I thought I could. What else am I like underestimating myself for? Like, whether that might be like relationship goals, like your career goals, just anything. I feel like we often put a lot of boundaries and limitations on ourselves. And I think that working in the weight room, that often like builds self-esteem and just that mental fortitude that is going to help you excel in all aspects of life. So that's one thing that bodybuilding has taught me is just like, being disciplined, knowing that I'm capable of so much more than, I thought I was. The friendships, oh my gosh, the community is so incredible. So, and that's one of the reasons why I don't know if I'll ever stop like competing or bodybuilding is because like I just enjoy the friendships and the community that I've made throughout this sport. So, within my gym, within the Angels, for instance, like going to the Angels fashion show, you come across a lot of competitors there, people who compete, people who don't, but we all oftentimes share a passion for fitness. And as we both know, people who work out tend to be just happier people, like, more positive. You have those endorphins. So I'm a strong believer that, the friendships that I've made through like the Angels runway show, like I'll probably be friends with Tanya forever, like forever. So she's my girl. So the community is another thing that I absolutely adore. One thing that I don't think that enough people give respect to is the nutrition side. Like, yes, bodybuilding can be very restrictive, but it's also very empowering as far as knowing how to nourish yourself now. So, like, I know a lot of people are like not a big fan of macro counting. However, I don't think I would have ever learned about, and I'm a pre-med grad. So like we talked about macros in my science classes, but it wasn't until I started like competing when things actually clicked. And I was like, wow, okay, like I know the nutritional value associated with each food. So I feel like bodybuilding taught me that like, if I do start to feel a little softer than what I'm comfortable with, okay, cool. I'm just going to bring down my carbohydrates a little bit. I'm just going to trend more towards protein. And then also knowing that serving sizes as well. So you don't really always need to go back for seconds. Like, do you really need like 2 cups of rice? Or your body probably is going to be good with like 1 cup of rice, So just really being aware of like the nutritional value associated with like food groups and serving sizes, I think is huge. So goodness, I could go on and on about everything that bodybuilding has like taught me and introduced me to. And yeah, I'm very grateful for a lot of the things I've learned just living this lifestyle.
Yeah, the nutrition is huge. It's not just lifting weights in the gym. Like you really can't outtrain a bad diet. And I feel like the confidence that you get when you can control what you look like
Yeah.
through food and training, that's very empowering. Because like
Yeah.
you can just like, oh, you're telling me if I do certain exercises to the muscle group, I can change my structure. I can change how my body looks. I can shape my waist and my shoulders and all these things. And I can do that through food manipulations. And it's a simple calculation. It's really not that hard if you take some time to learn it. And, it
Mhm.
does take it a little annoying to track your food. It takes maybe an extra 2, 3, 4 minutes per meal, but it does make an impact in all the different things that you learn through prep. But I always, every time I go into prep, I learn something new about yourself. Like, oh, how hard can you push on days where you're stressed and you got work and you got XYZ and you got a trip and a plan and and you still have to get your cardio in. You still got to get your nutrition in. You can't turn to food. You don't have alcohol. There's no escaping your emotions and prep. You just have to just deal with things. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that you're happy in bodybuilding and have brought us together, and your journey is going to continue. And so I can't wait to see what happens. We'll have to have you back for a recap of worlds after and see
Yes. Yes.
where your journey takes you. But final
Mhm.
question. Okay, well, actually, two questions.
Okay.
So the first one is, can people find you if they want to work with you?
Okay, so if people are interested in working with me, you can reach out to me on social media on Instagram. My handle is Carissa Ferguson. That's Ferguson with two N's. So it's my first and last name. And then I'm also on TikTok. My TikTok, I'm under Bad Bitch Athletics. That is my personal training company. Um, and yes, so I have links on both of my bios where you can submit a client questionnaire and to get started. So I'll reach back out and answer any questions that they have.
Okay. And final question, are you team cupcake or team protein shake?
Oh, goodness. I think right now, hear me out. I'm gonna say protein shakes because I'm hooked on my Ninja Creamy.
Oh yeah.
I am so hooked on my Ninja Creamy. So I am team protein shakes. Yeah.
I actually am team protein shakes. To be quite honest, I don't actually love cupcakes that much.
Yeah.
Like I would rather have like a Ninja Creamy or like a brownie or a cookie and then maybe a cupcake. But lately the current flavor is I found birthday cake protein powder. So I have
Okay.
that. And then the ghost protein cereal for toppings.
Ooh, that sounds good. That
It's
sounds
like
so
double
good.
proteiny. It's not too bad, but they have like it's kind of like Lucky Charms, but there's little marshmallows and sweet. So that
Mm,
combination together is just so
fire.
yes.
Yeah. I feel like Ghost in general has amazing flavor profiles. So all their flavors are incredible. So
I
I'll
appreciate you
definitely.
coming on,
Yes.
and
Thank you,
we'll
Savannah.
see you. We're gonna keep posing. We'll see you at World. So hopefully this is a future pro card coming your way.
Yes. Fingers crossed.
All right.